This is FightFans Radio.
What's going on, everybody? We are live. This is Real DWC.
And I'm at Juro LP.
And we are starting right off with the one and only Mr. Roy Dean. Thank you for being on our show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So, for the people at home listening, if they're not aware of who you are, which I have no idea how they don't, you will pop up on my Google more than anyone. Just so you know, all the searches I do for BJJ, you are constantly popping up. Definitely out there and great for the art and in the sport, of course. So thank you once again.
No, you're very welcome. Looking forward to it.
Nice. So for those that don't know, perhaps we could get right at the start, maybe the first time you were introduced to the martial arts or even the grappling side of it, and if you remember kind of your first class and experience and the feelings that brought on.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. When I was 16, I was selected to go to Japan as a Rotary exchange student, and while I was over there, they asked me to do a Japanese art after school. And I had a couple of different choices. I could do flower arranging, I could do Japanese archery, but I chose to do judo. And they warned me that it was going to be really tough, but I was up for the challenge. And so I got involved in judo over there. And it's very similar to, high school wrestling here in the U.S. Judo is a cultural institution in Japan. It's everywhere. It's on TV. And I got involved in it, and it was an amazing martial art, number one, to get started with, because judo is not easy. It's physically demanding. It's intense. A lot of repetition is required to be able to execute throws in very narrow windows of opportunity. And, it was a great foundation for my martial arts journey. The first class that I had in judo, it depends. Like my first experience actually doing judo, they had me do ukemi, or like falling exercises, for about 6 weeks to just make sure that I would know how to receive the techniques, protect myself. So I did that for a long time. And over the course of my martial arts career, I've really been thankful for that intense period of learning how to fall and learning how to receive techniques safely, because it saved me a number of times. But the first class, where I actually put on the uniform and sparred, that was very memorable, because I attacked my team captain. His name was Ichikawa. He was not that big of a guy, and he threw me over and over again. And all I could do, I didn't even know what happened to me. I just attacked him, tried gripping his gi, and he was very good at uchimata, an inner thigh throw. So he tossed me, and it felt like magic. And I wasn't sure what he was doing, but whatever he was doing is exactly what I wanted to do, because I wanted that same power. And that started me on the jiu-jitsu journey. Started with judo, and then eventually tried many other martial arts, including Aikido and then BJJ.
Of course. And with the background in judo, for those that are not aware, how much groundwork is there in judo?
It depends on how you look at it. If you look at like pre-World War II judo or pre-Olympic judo, I believe it's about 50-50, like 50% tachiwaza standing, 50% newaza. After the inclusion of judo in the Olympics, it definitely slanted more toward tachiwaza, the standing techniques, being able to win a match really quickly through a clean throw via ippon. So I would say that modern day judo is probably, even with the modern influence of BJJ, 80% tachiwaza, 20% neiwaza.
Wow, that's a big difference. I thought it was still closer to the 50-50 range.
You know, I think it depends on what kind of school that you go to. You know, if you go to a real competition-oriented school, and there aren't really that many of those in the United States, but maybe in France or maybe in Japan or Germany or another area of the world where judo is more popular. I definitely think that it's they're focusing on the tachiwaza because that's really how they win. Although, I mean, you can't underestimate the influence of BJJ. I think the smartest judo players are studying the transitions of BJJ and integrating into their game. And you know, everything influences everything.
Was it a smooth transition from doing judo to jiu-jitsu?
There was a gap there. I went judo, aikido, Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then BJJ. And so the judo to aikido they were all fairly smooth, but the way that you move in judo is very different than the way you move in aikido. And the Japanese jiu-jitsu, they didn't really have that much sparring in it. So when it came to, and I started BJJ when it was a little bit, I started training under a man named Claudio França, who was a Brazilian champion in Northern California. And he, you know, it was just early. It was just early in the BJJ days. So training was rough. I mean, Claudio runs a tight ship, and he's a real gentleman and asset to the art and sport. But it was just, you know, they paired you up with guys that may not be your weight, and guys didn't really know how to train. And you talk to a lot of old timers in the art. And back in those days, like, people would actively resist you just when you're drilling technique. It was just so people wanted to fight. They wanted to just test it out right away. And I think a lot of the guys that got involved in BJJ in those days would go straight to MMA today and just kind of skip the step of studying, you know, the classical or traditional form of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But, you know, the principles of movement, the principles of pushing and pulling, using angles, distraction, and leverage, all of that stuff applies, whether in Jiu-Jitsu, whether you call it Kodokan Judo, Aikikai Aikido, you know, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ.
Absolutely. And after training with that man, Claudio, how long was it till after that you began training with Roy Harris?
You know, it wasn't that long after. I was in Northern California. I was living in Monterey, California. I was going to junior college, and I was training BJJ. I was doing, you know, a couple of different martial arts. And then I transferred down to UC San Diego. And when I went down there, Claudio's top student, Garth Taylor, he gave me a couple of different recommendations. He suggested I go to Fabio Santos, and I met Fabio, and he had a great school and a uniformly high level of skill with his belt. And, you know, part of the joy of moving to a new town is you get to check out the new dojos, and you get to feel what the vibe is like in each of them. And I had heard a lot of good things about Roy Harris. Online, I had talked to one of his old training partners and students, Mike and Jen. He and I had a long conversation on the phone, and he thought that Mr. Harris would be the right man for me. He's very verbal. He's extremely knowledgeable. He has a very open mind because he came from a JKD background, and he was able to successfully lay out a path to get me to each new level. So I came to him as a blue belt. He was able to successfully get me to that level of purple, and then brown, and eventually black.
Sorry, I was wondering what year.
No, go ahead, please.
I was wondering what year exactly this was when you got to him as a blue belt.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat it one more time?
Sorry, I was wondering what year it was that you came to him as this blue belt with a clean slate for to be filled with some more knowledge?
Oh, yeah. So that happened. I moved down to San Diego at the end of 1999. And I actually had promised myself, because I had a very intense martial arts summer. I got my black belt in Aikido. I was just totally focused on martial arts, and I decided that, hey, UC San Diego, I know it's a tough school. A lot is riding on this. I wanted to do really well at whatever I set my mind on, so I wanted to do well in school. So I told myself I wasn't going to be training martial arts anymore. I was like, that's it. I'm taking a break. And instead, I actually studied like adult gymnastics for a little while. And I learned a lot in the gymnastics class, but I couldn't stay away from the martial arts. I was on some kind of internet forum, and I found out that they were going to be having a submission grappling competition at a local Indian casino in San Diego. And there would be all these guys there. Like Dean Lister was there. He fought Vernon Tiger White. John Alessio was there, the Lion's Den, the Shark Tank, all these local jiu-jitsu schools. Odi Neto had like kind of a big high-level fight there. And it was put on by one of Mr. Harris's students, Matt Stansel. And so I went down there, being a martial arts grappling junkie. I went down there, and it was my birthday. I said to myself, actually it was the day before my birthday. It was December 3rd. And I was like, I'm just going to watch. But I got so fired up watching these guys compete that I was like, it's my birthday. I deserve to train at least one day. I went the next morning to Mr. Harris's academy. I signed up, and then that was it. So that was the very end of 1999. I came to Mr. Harris, and I've been with him ever since.
What has that done for you as far as a person and as a martial artist?
Being able to study under Mr. Harris, what has that done for me?
Yes.
Well, Mr. Harris is he's not a normal man, so to speak. Like, he is exceptionally skilled. And a lot of guys, when they go into martial arts, they're seeking some level of power, of mastering the physical, being able to defend themselves, defend their loved ones. There are a variety of reasons why people get involved in martial arts. So, camaraderie, physical fitness, whatever, self-defense. But number one, Mr. Harris is extremely knowledgeable and extremely skilled. And so, after a couple of years, sometimes students harbor this little ego trip where they're like, yeah, well, he's really good at kicking and punching, or, he's really good at the ground, or he's really good at this, but I could do this, push come to shove. And the thing is, with Mr. Harris, you realize, wow, he's a master of just about everything. Punching, kicking, grappling, weapons, knives, guns, machetes. He could easily disarm a man with a machete, and he actually practices with live blades. Security work, being able to surveillance, all of these things he's invested his mind into. He's extremely analytical, and so it really kind of wowed me at the depth of his knowledge and the breadth of his knowledge. Number two, he's a man of integrity. He is honest. He is a very devout Christian. He has never, ever done anyone wrong that I have come across. He's not always perfectly understood, but he's a very good man, loyal, and he inspires loyalty in his students. And, I'm fortunate to call him my instructor. I'm fortunate to call him my friend. And, he's a complex man, but I think he was a wonderful mentor to me. And I've had a lot of great instructors, and I think that is, that one-on-one human contact, teacher-student relationship is something that can be really powerful and can change lives. And, and now that I'm a teacher, I hope that I can affect other people's lives in the same way.
Wow, that was really cool. That was nice to hear. With that being said, Aikido keeps popping up. Gymnastics just popped up. Other martial arts, of course, the judo. Is this the reason when I see you doing moves that it's so unique? I find you have a style unparalleled to others. It's very precise and clean looking, super smooth. Does other martial arts actually help the jiu-jitsu moves, or the BJJ, I should say?
I think so. I think that when you look at people moving, or when you look at a certain person's game, it's both a reflection of the personality and extension of their personality, as well as a reflection of their past training and programming. So with Aikido, there's a lot of blending. There's a lot of, it's okay to blend against somebody that's stronger, So my style is not really that aggressive, so to speak. I'm much more content to feel when someone's pushing in, and then do a little bit of pushing, pulling, and then commit when I feel that opening. So I try to move quickly when the opening is there, and I try to be, very smooth and connected with my partner. And I think that's really the yielding of jiu-jitsu. So yeah, Aikido has definitely had an influence, but I would say that almost everything I've ever been exposed to has an influence and comes through your game. Gymnastics was very interesting because a lot of times in martial arts they start by telling you, strength is not that important, and it's all about technique. In gymnastics, on day one, they say your limiting factors are strength and flexibility. And they don't do their conditioning at the beginning. They do skill. They do skill drills. They'll do. Their warm up is very oriented towards skill development, and they finish with conditioning. And in a lot of ways, that makes sense since you have quite a bit more fine motor control at the beginning than when you're exhausted. I mean, there is an argument to be made about doing jiu-jitsu when you're exhausted and you can't rely on your strength. But that was refreshing. Also, just a simple exercise that they had in gymnastics. They would have us do handstands against the wall, and you were competing with the other people on the wall. Like, who's going to drop first? Don't be the first one to drop. Who's going to be the last one up? And it made me realize the importance of structure, posture, your skeletal frame. And, so those kind of lessons that you learn from other disciplines apply in any art that you do, and definitely in jiu-jitsu.
In your opinion, what do you think is the difference between being a martial artist and a fighter? And which one do you consider yourself?
I consider myself to be a martial artist. I would say that martial artists are people that study the arts. And if you're a good martial artist, you have the capacity to fight. But you're using it as a tool for self-development. Fighters are not as concerned with self-development. They want to win, or they want to use the art for whatever means that they want. Maybe they want to dominate somebody. Maybe they want the adrenaline rush of being able to just lay it out on the line. Maybe they like the crowd. Maybe they like whatever, but they like fighting. Fighters like fighting. Fighters like competition. And they like the conflict. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just something different. Some people feel most alive when they're competing, when their mind shuts off and the body takes over. So, but a martial artist, I think, is something very different. You study the arts. You have an appreciation of the arts. You have an appreciation of the history. You have a desire to present the art in a particular way so that it has a positive influence. And good martial artists are, they can fight. They have the capacity to fight, but they're not necessarily seeking to fight. And you see a lot of fighters in the UFC. But every once in a while you see a true martial artist who's also an amazing fighter. And I would definitely say that George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva are martial artists. And that's part of the reason I'm such huge fans of them.
What did you think of Anderson's performance this past weekend?
Brilliant. Playful. I'm constantly amazed by him. His calm demeanor, the confidence that he has in his skills, his ability to yield. Bonner tried taking him down. He just felt him out. And honestly, I think he gets in guys' heads. He comes out so calm. He does his little side step around the octagon. And by the time guys are ready to fight him, he's basically hypnotized them into losing. And then Bonner attacks. He can't take him down. He just negates. He's not trying to overpower him. He's just feeling out what the other guy has. And you can substitute any opponent you want. But he's feeling out what the guy has. And then when he feels the moment, he attacks. He gets the guy defensive. And then that knee, the flurry of activity, the attempted takedown, the punches, Bonner's backing up, ricochets off the fence, one knee to the sternum. Apparently Bonner said it paralyzed him temporarily. He takes no damage. He's playful. He enjoys his fights. They're exciting. He's a finisher. It's amazing. It's an honor for me to watch him. I mean, sometimes people they just go to that next level. And I think it depends on what your motivation is. If you're a martial artist and you just want to be the absolute best you can be, and you're measuring against yourself, I think it's easier actually to go to those transcendent levels than oftentimes a fighter who is just like, yeah, I'm good enough to beat that guy. The GSP, Anderson Silva, amazing, admirable. And I love the way they conduct themselves as well.
So you don't believe that he is arrogant or cocky? Some people would say that that's what he's doing in the ring.
No, he's just doing what he needs to do to take control of that situation.
Well put.
No one is feeling what's going on in that situation like he is. And there have been disappointing. I was a little disappointed in this Demian Maia performance over there. That was not his finest hour, but he's more than made up for it, in my opinion.
Do you think it's important to have some kind of showmanship when you're fighting in front of an audience, or is it just skill is more important than that?
Showmanship is icing on the cake. Some guys go for showmanship and they don't have the skill, and that's disappointing for everybody. You need the skill. If you have a little bit of flair, if you have a little bit of showmanship, that's great. That's entertaining. I applaud it. But when it comes to, showboating, I'm not a huge fan of that just to do it. I don't like disrespecting your opponent. I'm not a fan of that. Sometimes you do things tactically, but disrespect, it doesn't wear well, and it's not the kind of legacy that you'd really want to leave behind.
Mm-hmm. Back to yourself now. I found you personally. Obviously, the internet, it's unreal. I first saw you on YouTube putting together just a bunch of moves, nonstop transitions and move after move. In this clip, it just blew my mind watching it. Do you think you would be as successful without all the social media outlets that we have these days?
Absolutely not. No way. The YouTube and the internet has opened up doors for me that would not have been possible in a different time or a different era. what I wanted to do. And I was an early YouTube adopter. I was involved in media. I studied digital media at university, and then I got a job at a production company in San Diego. And so I learned a lot of those skills of what makes a compelling video. And there's an element of, obviously, there are some technical issues that you need to have an engaging video visually and from an auditory perspective as well. Number two, there's an element of storytelling that is necessary. Otherwise, it's just flat. And I thought that I could take my particular skill set in martial arts and digital media and be able to put the art that I loved in the best light possible to show that, hey, BJJ is not, a thug martial art. It's not, ungraceful. In fact, it's very sophisticated. It's very effective. It can be very gentle. It can be very playful. It can be combatively effective. It can be practiced as a very intense sport competitively. It can be all of those things. And put it to music, make it look good, and inspire people to, one, be receptive to the art, and two, maybe explore and maybe even start training themselves. That was really my intention, and to be able to hit people on different levels. They like the video. Why do they like the video? Because, okay, it's technically sound. There's good techniques involved. Number two, I like the music. Number three, this is well lit and this is well shot. It's well edited. And maybe there's like a little quote at the end. Maybe there's a message. Maybe someone is getting promoted and you see their rite of passage starting at the beginning from the bow in to the technical exercises that they're forced to show, to showing their heart against resisting opponents, to tapping the master to be able to graduate to that next level. That's the kind of storytelling that I wanted to engage in, and also show people, hey, this is my academy, this is my heart, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm growing students, this is my process. So if you are interested in taking a look at my process, here it is. So there's a little bit of transparency that invites people in to participate in what's going on at my academy. And without social media, that would not be possible.
Did you ever fear the backlash, criticism, hatred for being such a public figure in the martial arts community with how accessible you are? And obviously the videos are great, but people are sometimes just very mean. Me and Jared know we made one video and got 7 dislikes in about 3 hours. So, and some bad comments sometimes. So did you ever fear that when you said, you know what, I'm gonna make myself available?
That's something that you grow into. At first just when I went online at first, I would encounter people with different opinions who were very vocal and aggressive in pushing their opinions, and I disagreed with them. And I would get too engaged, and sometimes I would write a response or I wouldn't. This is just early on the internet. And then I realized, wow, it's all anonymous. People are emboldened to act differently when they're anonymous. And they can say things that they definitely wouldn't say to your face. And, that's all okay. You have to accept that. You have to have kind of a thick skin. And, I have received many correspondences over the years with people thanking me for, getting them started in training, doing high-quality videos that conceptually were able to move them forward in their own game, their own journey, their own process. Even people from other martial arts that like how respectful I am to their particular art, even though they don't practice BJJ. So that far outweighs any negativity that I might receive. And hey, we all have challenges. We all occasionally get a dislike on our video. But overall, that's part of it. And if you don't have critics, then you're not doing something real. And, I want to do something real. And, it's a process. It's never perfect. You try to please everyone, you won't please anyone. So I just try to follow my own path and present it in the best light possible. And overall, it's been working out well.
Friend Marcos Torregrosa has said that he uses that energy to that hate to channel success forward.
Marcos, one, he's an amazing competitor. He's so dedicated. We go back. I was in I think it was United Gracie tournament a long time ago. I had submitted a couple opponents to the finals. So had he. And we met up, and I thought I was going to win, right, until he tapped me. And then we became, and there's a certain kind of camaraderie that happens from sharing an experience like that. So he's an amazing martial artist, very well-rounded, and a fierce competitor. And he's got a special kind of energy where he does take that. He's very he's got pinpoint focus on what he wants. And I'm really glad that you guys did an interview with him. He deserves a lot of press. He's extremely dedicated and impressive. His game is awesome.
Oh, he definitely showcased it against a huge name, probably one of the biggest opponents he's faced with Vitor Shaolin Ribeiro's return. So I thought his match at the Masters Worlds and Seniors was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, he's great. And the year before that, he had won. He had done a seminar at my school, and then which was super well received. Everybody loved it. And then the next weekend, he was in Brazil, and he just blew through everybody to get the gold medal at the Master and Senior Worlds. So gold last year, silver this year against obviously a legend in the sport. And he's fantastic.
Nice. I agree. How important do you think it is for the student of the martial art, your students in general, to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and when to do it in regards to grappling, and not just trying to do a Kimura just because they want to do a Kimura?
That's a really good question, because people see grappling or BJJ and they think, I want to do that. And they think it's basically at will. I want an arm bar, so I'm going to just take this arm bar. Or when I'm a black belt, I could just take that arm bar, or I could just take that choke. But that's not the case at all. It's about what the person presents to you. And then the skill is having enough options so that you can capitalize on any of the possible avenues of submissions that they might present to you. So it takes a while to figure out, okay, I want the arm bar. Boom, have to open the ankles, have to pass the guard, side control, mount, maintain mount, attack for the choke. Boom, there's the arm. And so it's not just, I'm going to take an arm bar. It's a whole process of flowing from position to position and knowing the techniques that link together very well, that are related in the same family. Arm locks and chokes are related because as you attack the neck, the natural instinct is for the hands to come up and defend. There are other techniques like arm lock, triangle, omoplata. Those are another family of techniques, system of techniques. So when it comes to instilling that in my students, I like to have a flow from one technique to another. And that will tell them, that will educate them through doing. So I will start off with maybe warming up the core by sitting up for the Kimura, left and right sides, maintaining a connection with your partner. Then we go into the Kimura. Okay, and then the most common form of resistance. They try yanking up and posturing up, trying to free their elbow from the Kimura. Okay, as they do that, I tell them about that moment where they are pulling up, that you can add to that energy. You can get your hand behind you and go into a hip bump or a hip heist. And then I'll do another related technique. I'll sit up for the kimura. I can't get the kimura. I switch my hips out to the side, attack for the guillotine. And then if they resist the guillotine by posturing up, you can do that same hip bump. So I'm educating them by letting them feel what linking together, choosing for them, okay, these are related techniques, these are very good, and showing how you have to honestly commit to one technique to get a genuine reaction from the opponent in order to get to where you want to go, which is eventually the submission. So I think verbal explanations are good. Sometimes words can get in the way. Sometimes you can over-explain, and you've lost the student. Sometimes, you can go on tangents and leave people behind. Monkey see, monkey do. Most people are very good visual learners. There are other learning styles out there, of course, and you want to be able to cater and adapt your game. If you're a black belt teacher, you should be able to adapt your game, your teaching game, toward your students. But I think that by showing them the shape of a technique, then getting into detail, showing them which ones are related and how you have to honestly attack for one to get the other and when to let go, that's extremely important. And I just try to lead them through that process, and so they get the feel for that process and they can apply it to other areas of the grappling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game.
Wow, that was great. That was exactly what I was wondering. I was also wondering, by the way, just before I ask this question, I want you to know I've seen a lot of DVDs. I really enjoyed. You actually went over some theory before. Actually, there's an option to watch you talk about theory in each position before actually learning anything that you're about to show, and I really enjoyed that from a grappler standpoint. Just because I like hearing people at high level what their thoughts are or what they should do or what they should be looking for. So I really appreciated that on the DVD.
Oh, hey, I appreciate you saying that. I do that a lot in blue belt requirements, and that DVD wanted to change a lot of things for me. I tried to put all my energy into making a DVD that was concise, that was limited, that was clear. Essentially taking my instructor's blue belt requirements, putting them on a DVD in a very friendly and very accessible way so that people could have an easy on-ramp onto their BJJ journey. So many times people are dropped into an environment and it's sink or swim. So I think blue belt requirements has helped a lot of people, and whether they like the multiple angles or they like the theory or they like how I link things together later in a video called BJJ Combinations, where I take those basic techniques I showed and see how they can be strung together. Or even the belt demonstrations on there, seeing people at different age levels, someone who's 30, someone who's 40, someone who's 50, going for the same level. There are different ways to approach teaching the art and especially the fundamentals, because if you have great fundamentals, the rest of the journey is so much more enjoyable.
With that being said, do you still have enough concepts, positions, and content to make more DVDs available to the public?
I do, and but every DVD, I want to make it better and I want to make it different. The goal is to create a body of work of, timeless information. Jiu-Jitsu is a human technology, and it has been around for a very long time. And however you want to call it, if you want to call it Kalari Payet from India, if you want to call it China in China, or Jiu-Jitsu in Japan, or BJJ from Brazil, it's all, distraction, angles, leverage. And that's going to be around forever. As long as the laws of physics continue to operate in the known universe, then, it's going to be around. So the goal is to create a body of knowledge and a path that people can enter into and be able to, change themselves as people, as martial artists, and as jiu-jitsu practitioners. I still have black belt requirements to do, but here's the deal. I do not produce a DVD like that. I have some ideas for other DVDs or other apps and other projects, but I do not produce a DVD until I'm actually producing students for that level, because I want it to accurately reflect my process. So I didn't do brown belt requirements until I was actually producing brown belts. And I'm going to wait on black belt requirements until I'm actually producing black belts. So, and each one has corresponded in my own journey in launching an academy, developing students for each level. And I just think it's a little bit more honest. I think it's a little bit more real that way.
Makes sense.
For people in the art, do you think it's crucial in how one spends their time on the mats? And what do you think is important in order to improve?
Well, the most important thing is that you enjoy it. And, if the fun is gone, if the thrill is gone, it's very difficult to maintain progress. And it's a difficult art in and of itself. So if you are in an environment that doesn't make it fun, your kind of fun, and people have different kinds of fun. Some people love punishing physical workouts. Some people love the, kind of a lighthearted camaraderie and like having more technical training. There's a lot of different approaches that you can have. But how you spend your time on the mat is crucial. Some people feel that you can just go to class and get better, and you will get better. Training in a legitimate academy is so much better than just training off DVDs or tapes. DVDs, tapes, we don't really have tapes anymore, but DVDs, apps, those are supplementary materials. Occasionally, if you're in a remote area, that is it. But generally, those should be considered supplemental materials. It's the quality of your time spent training martial arts that counts most. It's not how much time you put in. You need quality time. So for class is really great for technical exposure, technical correction, and being able to have a wide variety of body styles and training partners at different skill levels. You need to drill too. If you really want to get good, you need a training partner. That's where I turned a corner in my game from blue belt to purple. I got a training partner. Mr. Harris suggested it. He ended up becoming one of my best friends and more like a brother to me. And we trained all the time. We drilled all the time. And it makes all the difference in the world. That's really high quality. That's the jiu-jitsu way of learning jiu-jitsu. It's about efficiency and drilling techniques with a good training partner that cares for your body and you care for him. You're not injuring each other. Not every session is not a sparring match. It's about drilling. It's about skill development. That's really where it's at. So you need a mix, and you want to. It's not all about physical conditioning. It's not all about sparring. It's taking a well-rounded educational approach to your physical development and your conceptual development in the art.
Nice. If you don't mind, we're going to ask some Twitter questions now. We got Tags20. That's at Tags20. She wants to know what's the most important aspect of BJJ from belt to belt in terms of development / improving at each stage color of the belt.
Got it. White belt. As Saulo Ribeiro said, it's about survival. Mr. Harris says it's about paying your dues. Number one, attitude at white belt. It's the best place to be. There's no expectations. Be an empty cup and just try to be a competent white belt. Learn defense, learn escapes, learn the fundamental movements. Fundamental movements at white belt. That will lay a great foundation for you, particularly with positional escapes and other key techniques. Blue belt, okay, now you're learning words. And it's important to continue to pay attention. Yes, you do know quite a bit about the art, but don't get too far ahead of yourself. Blue belt to purple is about taking on some more information. You're still kind of in that informational sponge stage. Take it all in, see what sticks, and start drilling. Okay. Purple belt, you're able to string those words into sentences, and when it comes to your drilling, you're still drilling, but in your technical exposure, you're not quite the sponge that you were. In fact, now you're actually eliminating techniques. We're getting more simple. Okay, so you're just focusing on the techniques that you've already programmed into your body. You can't program everything into your body. Okay, too many pathways. So the techniques that you're well suited for biomechanically, the techniques that you spend a long time drilling, you learn the neighboring techniques, you drill those systems, and you kind of eliminate the other stuff that doesn't really apply to you. Brown belt. Brown belt is more about confidence and pressure. There's an additional layer of simplification in your game, but that doesn't mean that, but it's more unseen stuff going on with brown belt. You're able to hold your ground. You're able to generate pressure from the top and the bottom. You have your systems of techniques. You know when to redline it. You know when to expend energy and when not to. And very often at brown belt, you see guys that know their game so well that they are waiting for their opponent, say it's a brown belt versus a blue belt. They're waiting for their opponent to catch up and go into one of the defenses or just to see what the response is. Brown belt is much more about observation, seeing what the natural responses are, and you realize, okay, I have mount and I attack the neck. There's like 3 things that they do. Or from side mount, I attack that far arm. There's only a couple different ways they can defend. You categorize that. You file it in your mind. And then you have the counters to those counters. Okay. So we're going deeper in our game and with more confidence. And then black belt, I feel black belt is about speed and precision. And having, as Mr. Harris says, putting your signature on the art. Whatever you are known for, your specialty. It could be heel hooks, it could be knee bars, it could be arm locks, it could be chokes, it could be sweeps. Whatever that signature in the art is, you are really getting efficient in your stuff. What might have taken you 7 or 8 steps at blue belt, okay, I got to do this. I got to lift the arm here. I got to pull it across. I have to put my foot on the hip. I have to turn 90 degrees. I got to throw my legs up. I have to sweep him on his back. Black belt, 3 steps. Grab. You shoot your hips up and corkscrew at the same time. So not only are you locking the arm lock on tight, but you're sweeping them at that moment when they're losing their balance. As they're falling down, you're dropping back with your elbow perfectly placed against their wrist, extending their arm. All of that is happening at once. So it takes a long time to be able to get that efficient. It takes a lot of work to be able to not have to expend as much time and energy getting the same technique. So that's the basic gist of how I see the belt levels.
Wow. Tito 1028 asks, why don't you compete anymore?
The honest answer is I'm just not that into it. And earlier I had a little bit of ambivalence, like, man, I kind of felt obligated to compete. Even that started at like purple belt. People were asking me to, oh man, you should compete over here. Could you do this thing or whatever? And that's when I started to lose my mojo about competition. I just didn't see the upside. And there are great arguments for competition. It does improve you. It puts you under duress. You have a roller coaster of emotions that you have to deal with. It tightens your game. One competition experience can equal several months of training. But I just don't have the fire. And if you want to compete at a high level, at a world level, you have to be dedicated. And Marcos Torregrossa is a perfect example. That man is dedicated. He is into it. His thoughts are all about the new developments in BJJ. He's a great instructor and he's a great competitor, and that's a rare combination to get. I just feel it's more efficient for me at this stage to focus on teaching. And I love competition. I love the option of competition. It keeps an art strong. And if my students want to compete, I'll try to have facilitate a good experience for them. But for me, I don't think it's where I need to be right now. And but I'm a fan. I'm still a fan, and I love watching competition, competitors, what's working, and But when I see it, I don't really feel the desire to get out there right now.
What do you feel is your defining moment throughout your whole career?
That is kind of a deep question. I'll tell you guys a story. When I was a blue belt, I got exposed to a guy named Dan Camarillo. And he was training over at House Gracie's Academy. And I saw him just demolishing guys at the U.S. Open. And here I was, like my first real blue belt competition, and I think I landed on my neck or something going for a knee bar. Knee bars weren't even allowed. It was just ridiculous. I lost. And here is Danny Camarillo, foot sweeping guys into an arm lock and just killing people. And I was like, that dude is my jiu-jitsu idol. He is, and I'd seen a lot of judo and I'd seen a lot of jiu-jitsu, but really, he was one of the most talented martial artists I had ever seen in my life. Technical, aggressive, elegant in his movement, and he won, and he finished people. And I didn't even really know about his brother David, but Dan Camarillo, I was like, oh man, that guy's incredible. And and we actually met and hung out a few times and became friends. And then there was a competition. It was my first purple belt competition, and he was sponsored by HCK, Howard Combat Kimonos, and I competed in the same competition. And they didn't really have a large purple belt bracket, so they put this all together, and I ended up having to face my jiu-jitsu idol. And the deal is, for a variety of reasons, it was like my best day ever, and it was not his best day, and I ended up winning the match against him. And it was because I had such respect for him that I was able to drop into a mode where I was not thinking at all. I had one point of concentration on surviving and winning this match, because I knew this was the fight of my life. This is the guy that I admired more than anyone. And when that happened, I realized that, one, I had a transcendent moment where the less I thought, the better I did in terms of physical performance. Number two, that if I could do that against the person I admired so much, then, hey, I'm actually all this hard work has paid off. I'm getting pretty good at this art. And number three, I realized that through a tap, you could empower somebody else. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're weak if you tap to somebody. In fact, you can tell them, hey, you could be great. Good job. You can. It was something that I think the founder of Aikido, he realized that Budo is to protect all life, all living things, and I realized that losing is not necessarily losing. Losing can empower somebody else. And that one experience changed me. That changed me as a martial artist. And so that's one reason why I tap to every student that does a belt demonstration, because they work through all these people and then they face me last. And I test them. I temper their spirit. I put them under duress, but not enough to break them. And then eventually, if they're mentally strong, they'll recognize the opportunity that I'm presenting to them for them to tap me. And by tapping me, they're allowed entrance into that next level in BJJ. So that was, and I've really never spoken about that, but that was a very transcendent moment. And it was amazing because there was somebody, you idolize people, or you become a fan of people in this art. And, he's still an amazing martial artist, as well as his brother, David. He is a young master. So the Camarillos have been a huge inspiration and technical influence in my development as a martial artist.
That's a great story. And I'm glad you mentioned the tapping to your students. I actually was curious about it, but I really wasn't sure if I should ask you or not. But I'm glad you brought that up and let us know why. You've mentioned Marcos numerous times. Now the Camarillos, these are unique names that, they're not the Mendez brothers or Marcelo Garcia. So is there any other grapplers or BJJ guys that you could think of that also you admire or have influence on you?
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the art. I love the movement of Andre Galvao. Terrere, please, that guy's amazing. Jacare, incredible. A lot of those guys. I love people that finish, that go for the tap, and if you're able to, I think that really represents the spirit of the art. That's just my personal preference. I don't necessarily teach my guys about points, or I teach them about points, but I never teach toward points. And, I feel jiu-jitsu is about finishing the fight. And so those are the people that I really admire. Although there are a ton of people coming up that I saw, Jeff Glover. I love his playful attitude and grappling style. There are just a bunch of people that have influenced me over the years, but any finisher that puts it all out on the mat definitely has my respect and admiration.
I'm glad you said this. It's almost like we planned this segue into talking about Metamoris submissions only. Yes, there was a couple draws, but what was your thoughts on what everybody really wanted to see, which was, no points. Let's see who's better.
I didn't see it. I was in the air. I was coming back from a seminar with one of my affiliates in Mississippi. And so when I landed, I wasn't able to make it. They were broadcasting it at my academy. So all I saw were some of the highlights of it. But I think submission only is great. I don't know if that can be done as the norm. I remember seeing I think it was at a United Gracie tournament. There was a submission only match, and my God, it went at least 40 minutes until somebody got injured, and it didn't work out the way that I had hoped that match would work out. And all eyes were on it, and then after 30 minutes, they started doing matches around it because they're like, we just have to keep going. We can't fall too far behind. I think it does represent the spirit of the art nicely, but against somebody with incredible defense, and sometimes aggression will open up opportunities for submission. And usually the most exciting matches are when two guys are going at that. When two people are playing maybe slightly different games, it may not result in as many opportunities to finish the match. So, there are different ways of looking at it. I think what they did was awesome. If I hadn't already scheduled that seminar, I actually would have been down in San Diego, front and center for that tournament or that show.
Well, there's going to be another one you could probably make it to, so that'll be good. Before we let you go, I was just wondering if you want to let people know where you're located, your gym, how they can train with you. You got a lot of stuff to plug, so I'm going to give you this time to just let it all out, let everyone know how they could follow you on Twitter, everything you got going on.
I appreciate that. It all stems from my website. You can go to roydeanacademy.com. I have a variety of instructional materials available. You can order it on DVD. I also have all of it available, everything available as a DVD, as an app, and even more, new materials, guest seminars, on a new project called RDA Online, which has everything available in a very mobile and portable format. So you can watch it on your web, your phone, your tablet, whatever you like. It's still in the beta phase right now. We're still doing a few tweaks on it, but I'm really excited about RDA Online launching very soon. In terms of training, I'm located in Bend, Oregon. I have a beautiful academy here in Bend. People often ask me, why Bend? But all it takes is one trip out to Bend, and you realize that it's a great town, very fit, very active. A lot of people are in shape here and embrace a healthy, active lifestyle. Clean air, you step off the plane, it smells like pine trees. You're like, oh, I definitely like this. And a river running through the middle of town. It's a great spot. And we get visitors from all over the place. Sometimes people fly in from other countries. Sometimes people fly in from different areas of the U.S. We love having all visitors on the mat. We get high-level students coming in and people just coming for a little while. They're all welcome. And I hope I can facilitate a good experience for them to learn a little bit more about the art. I love what I do. I won't be doing it forever. But if anyone is interested in coming and training with me, there's no time like the present. Come out to the academy, and I'll make sure you have a great time.
What are some future projects for you?
Well, definitely black belt requirements. I'm thinking of, on RDA Online, I'm very interested in having more guest seminars. So the first seminar was a Judo Made Easy seminar from Dave Canario. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. What he showed was fantastic in terms of being able to utilize a person's momentum, how to generate that momentum, get them moving, and then be able to cut the corner and step in for an effortless flow. That knowledge is contained in the Kodokan Nage no Kata, the throwing kata of Kodokan Judo, but it's done in a very static motion, and Dave was able to impart a pretty sophisticated concept in that seminar, and my students were able to taste immediate success. So it was extremely impressive. I would love to get other guys up here, and I'm looking forward to being able to put those seminars up and just being able to pool knowledge. I do have a few projects going. I'm going to be headed out to Kuwait in the next couple of months. I was supposed to go, but things changed, and so I'm going to be going in 2 or 3 months out to Kuwait. I'm going to teach for 4 days, film that, release it as an app. And then I'm also considering doing a very simplified, streamlined app directed toward women in terms of techniques that they can do for self-defense. Not a full self-defense curriculum, but a limited number of techniques, very accessible. And so that's kind of a project. I don't want to give too much away, but that's a project that I'm interested in. Sometimes too much information can confuse people. It's about presenting just the right amount of information with just the right amount of details and putting it in a way that appeals to people and makes them want to watch and rewatch and program it in. So I'm excited about the future. What I'm currently working on is I have 2 books in the works. They're going to be released as iBooks. The first one is called The Budo Apprentice, and I'm wrapping up with that issue. I'm really excited about it. It's the story of me going to Japan, training judo, and the story of me becoming a Budo apprentice, becoming an uchideshi, a live-in student under Julio Toribio, who's a Japanese jiu-jitsu and aikido master in Monterey, California. It's the story of me moving into his dojo, the trials and tribulations, the dramas that happened, my exposure to BJJ, and that is part one. So the Budo Apprentice is part one before I moved to Southern California. Part two, BJJ Journey, is going to be my journey in BJJ, landing in San Diego, going to university, training under Mr. Harris, and continuing all the way through my black belt, plus launching the academy. So I want to share that saga of not only the journey in BJJ, but then what it's like to launch an academy, the lessons that I've learned, the skills that are necessary. And by sharing that part of the process, I think I'll be able to inspire and hopefully help people that want to do their own process, that want to launch their own academy, that just want to, technical manuals are great, but I think an inspirational project like that, where you actually, it's more like a biography. And if one person can do it, another person can do it. And I'm really excited about all the multimedia angles that I can include in this. So if I talk about a match with somebody, I can actually have the match right there next to the text. They can play it. They can bring it up full screen. They can minimize it. Pictures. More immersive experience, a more interactive experience. And I'm really excited about these two projects. Budo Apprentice should be released in the next month or so on the iTunes store.
I'm excited. I'm going to make sure that this will be my first ever book review on my website. I've always wanted to go over people's stuff. I will make sure that I'll actually write about something for once. I keep saying I'm going to, but I never have. So I'm going to make this book my first ever review and enjoy it along the way of reading it.
Fantastic, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And and I hope you enjoy it. I've been working on it hard, and I'm really excited about being able to share this with the public.
Well, I hope it's a huge success, and I wish you all the success. And thank you, Mr. Roy Dean, for coming on the BJJ Addict Radio and telling us that story. For sure, something you never said before. So I really enjoyed that part.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you guys having me on, and keep up the great work, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye,
care.
Thanks.
Oh, man. So,
Jer?
it was, oh my God.
That was awesome.
It's too much for my brain. Man, that was, that was a lot of,
Every time we get off an interview with someone who's so immersed in the sport and brilliant, you tend to have a meltdown because you can't keep track of it all.
sitting here melting.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem, I think, is that we're not just, we're not just radio people, can't even talk.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to ask the next question with...
Because, I'm a fan, too, out of all these people that we interview, I'm a fan of every single one of these guys. And
Yeah. It's definitely, it's trippy talking to them on here.
sharing stories, too, is awesome.
Yeah, I love that because it becomes I had questions and I didn't even ask them. It just starts organically happening, you're just talking in a conversation opposed to literally interviewing them, which is also good. For those that missed this weekend, Meta Morris happened. It's unfortunate he was in the air when this happened. Thanks to everyone, even those haters that give us those 7 dislikes. We got 1,000 views on YouTube. Our predictions, we were way off.
Yeah.
We weren't even close. But past guest that just was one of our past guests, Rafael Lovato Jr., 6 sub, the nastiest Kimura, man. It was disgusting. It was awesome. Kron Gracie ripped out a humongous armbar. It was dirty.
Yeah.
And of course, Kyle Terry got the sub on Mr. Jeff Glover, which, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. And, I'm not mad. I was going for Jeff. I like them both so much that it's hard to choose, but Kyle came out on top on that one. The rest were draws. Galveo, your boy Andre said some stuff after. Wasn't the most gracious person to have a draw, and even the next day, kind of laying it on Ryron for self defense and just protecting himself and not getting subbed opposed to going for the sub. This is in his words. Me personally, bro, I thought it was a great fight. I thought Gracie did tremendous. And I thought he was very aggressive on the feet with the judo, man. I thought he had really cool, like, tricky judo, like, very good stuff going on. So overall, commentating was way too much. I know you didn't get to see it, but it was way too much.
Yeah.
Too long of an event. Let's narrow that down.
Yeah.
I saw my boy, Mr. Professor Robert Drysdale tweeting, like, why did we need another break? It just kept going on, but overall, I love that event. It was great to see.
I want to congratulate past guests on our show. Our good friend Marcos Zaragoza.
Yeah, who's been mentioned a lot tonight.
I think he's mentioned in every show, I think.
Yeah. But what do you want to congratulate him?
He just made it to the BJJ Hero.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I went on the site today and I saw him and I said, shit, that's so cool. For any of those who don't know, BJJ Heroes, great website that accumulates all the great grapplers out there. And, man, when I saw him on there, it was kind of cool. I don't even personally know this guy. And I was like, damn, man, that's respect. So good for him out there making waves. And you got Roy Dean talking about you doing something right. One other thing, ADCC trials that just happened in San Diego the same damn day as Metamoris. A lot of people won, but somebody I personally know, Darson Hemmings, he won the under 66 kilograms trials.
What is that one?
I don't even know. But he ends up winning. This is for the North American trials. I'm pretty sure the winner of this gets that golden ticket to represent North America. Like, you got the invite to the real ADCCs, I should say, sorry.
Good.
Yeah, so shout out to Darson Hemmings doing it up. Congratulations. We got someone representing Canada, so that's going to be pretty cool. I don't even know if the last Canadian to do it was like, man.
Okay, I don't know.
Rob DeCencio, I think. So that's way back.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. I think we took enough of everyone's live time. So thank you for if you tuned in and listened live. I know we usually cap this off in an hour, but we're not going to stop talking to Roy Dean. Let's just put it that way.
Thanks everybody. We'll put out questions there, and keep doing it. We'll keep asking those questions if you keep putting them out. Yeah,
this is the first time we actually asked Twitter questions. So thanks for the people that wrote in.
The Ustream Live is pretty cool too.
Yeah, if you guys are on there, sorry,
gets us more in touch with our audience.
Yeah, and, there's a chat on the Ustream Live on FightFansRadio.com. Erica, that was a plug. You owe me some more money. No, no. You guys ask the questions on there, and we shall ask the person that's on the special guest. Remember, go like all our Facebooks, YouTubes, Twitters. Oh man, there's too much. Any social media outlet, hit us up. BJJ Addict, Fight Fans Radio, BJJ Addict Radio. That's it, man. I feel like I'm spieling on the stage for the Oscars here.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, hang tight.
Hang tight, dudes.
We'll see you next week.